Hello, I'm Patrick Risley. I'm pastor here at First Presbyterian Church, Fort Lauderdale, and we welcome you to our daily devotional this Friday, April 24, 2020. And today we're going to look at this one thing from our daily Revised Common Lectionary reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 16, verses 23 to 36. What is the one thing that our text is pointing to us today as you read it? It's pointing to Sabbath rest. You see, the Hebrew journey has been long and difficult. God has been a steady companion with the people ever since Moses was born and has proven over and over and over again his steadfast love and care for the people. But the people, they like to grumble. They like to complain. Yes, even people back in Moses' time, they were the cigarette stompers in the church parking lot who would go out and complain and complain about what's going on. Well, same with Moses. You see, the people like to grumble and complain to God about Moses, and then they would complain to Moses about God. And God continued to show his steadfast patience with those people every time, even though they indicated distrust towards him. Well, one of the requirements that God places on the people as they make their way through the wilderness is that they are to have a Sabbath rest. A Sabbath rest. And for the Hebrews, that would have been Saturday. They are to set one day aside and hallow it. That is, make it holy. And what that means, to make something holy means you set it apart for a specific, definite purpose. And the specific, definite purpose for the Sabbath rest was to provide for the people, to give them rest, to let them reconnect with the Creator, the one who is leading them to liberation. They were to use Sabbath rest as a way to connect with their family and to worship the Lord as community. And so God says, listen, Sabbath rest is vital for me and vital for you in our relationship. So I got a plan. God says on Friday, I want you to go and collect enough food for 2 days. So this way you'll have enough for Friday, you'll have enough for Saturday, and you won't have to go out and look for manna, for food on Saturday, the Sabbath. You can really rest and focus on each other, and most importantly, focus on me in worship. Well, some did. Some did not. Most people followed God's plan, but there were always those few that went looking for food on Saturday and not finding anything, they went hungry. You see, God wasn't too thrilled about their violating Sabbath rest. Why? Because it was disobedience. And why was their violating of Sabbath rest disobedience? Well, you see, the people's poor planning for the Sabbath and their rejection of Sabbath shows their disobedience in that they really did not believe God was God. In other words, they didn't think God would make good on God's promise to take care of them. God would not meet their provision. It was their way of showing and telling God, we don't trust you enough to be God for us. We don't trust you that you'll provide for us. So we're going to be out looking for ourselves on our own initiative because we don't think you're going to pull it off. And the result? Broke God's heart. It broke God's heart because God has proven his provision and care for them over and over and over again. So, beloved, let me ask you this. Do you set aside a day of rest to be with God and with those you love? Do you remember and take part of Sabbath rest? Do you trust God will supply all your provisions? And what does your lack of Sabbath rest tell God about that? You see, on Sabbath God said, get enough manna for the day. You'll have as much manna as you will need, no more. No hoarding was allowed, because hoarding shows distrust. So as you go this day, friends, remember this one thing. Trust in God's gracious provision to give you and supply you with what you need, and enter into a good Sabbath rest this Sunday. God bless you. Have a great day.